Alright, hello, welcome to the squad's EMS charts training. Hopefully this won't be too terrible, but we'll see what happens. So, if you haven't heard, hopefully you have at this point, but the squad is moving to EMS charts with a target date of August 1st as our go live date where EMS charts will become the sole charting route for the squad. Paper charts will no longer be accepted as the final record of a patient interaction. And what I'm going to do here is go through the entire service, looking at each page of the chart, all aspects of the chart, so you can watch this on your own time and figure out how to use the chart. During the last week of the month before August 1st, we'll have some in-person trainings for you to come by and ask any questions or go through it if you'd like to. But otherwise, this will serve as the majority of the training for how to use EMS charts if you're unaware. So every member of the squad right now has an account for EMS charts to log in. It might be an account that you currently use for another service if you work there. So for instance, like Josh Price, who also works for Atlantic right now, uses EMS charts. The same account, the same username that he uses to log in for Atlantic will work for the squad as well. You just have to switch services, and I'll show you how to do that if you don't know. But otherwise, all squad members have an account. Now, it's possible that you had a pre-existing account before we did this, such that you either worked for an agency that used EMS charts in the past, or you've been on the squad and you've been an EMT, or you were rather before 2010 or so, when the state went out and created an EMS charts account for every single EMT in the state, when that was the default program that the state approved. That's gone by the wayside, but that account still exists. Otherwise, if you haven't had an account previously and the state did not create one for you, your username is what I created it as, which is your first name dot your last name and the password of password 123 in all lowercase letters. So for instance, my brother Jonathan would log in using jonathan.coos and a password of password 123, at least for the first time that he sets it up. However, I have created a test account to use for the purposes of showing you how to go through the entire chart here. So we'll set that up. Password 123. Also, to get to this site, it's simply emscharts.com. Pretty simple. So we'll log in. The first time that you log in, it will prompt you to change your password. Change the password 123 to something of your own choosing, following the rules listed at the top here. Minimum length of 5, maximum length of 15 characters, can contain any letter or number, but also requires a special character, even though it doesn't say that. So for instance, if I go to set up a new password for the test account here, and I don't use a special character, it will yell at me and tell me what I'm missing. Pretty straightforward. Let's just set up a proper account right here. Once you establish a new password, it will then log you out and make you log back in using the new password that you just created. As we're going along, feel free to actually do this as the training is going along, so you can make sure that you're not skipping any steps. So once you log in for the first time, having changed your password, it presents you with this screen, which looks at various security items regarding your account on EMS Charts. The first item that it forces you to change or forces you to set up is anti-phishing devices, which prevents scammers from collecting your information by sending you a fake EMS Charts login screen. To be completely honest, I've never seen this. I've been using EMS Charts for over 10 years. I've never seen this. I've never seen a phishing picture presented to me. I'm not really sure how they're using it, but I've never seen it used. though it is something that they force you to set up. So the first thing that I want you to do is find an image that you would recognize if you want to log in and they wanted to present this to you. So let's choose the picture of the cat there. They also want you to put in an anti-phishing phrase in addition to the picture. Once again, I've never seen either of these used, so it's something that they're forcing you to do, so just do it, and we'll leave it at that. The next thing that it wants you to do is set up security questions. So if you do forget your password in the future, you can click a forgot password option, enter some security questions, and they will reset the password for you. So let's just put some silly answers in here. All right, once you have your security questions set up, it wants you to enter your email address in order to link your account with an email address. This way it can send you reminders regarding your certification expiration dates. If you forget your password, you can have a password reset option sent to your email. Very useful to have, and it does require you to do this. So put in your email address, submit it, and it will send a validation code to your email so you can link it. So we'll just wait here for a couple of seconds. This is just a test account that I set up. Hopefully it will come through in a minute, and it looks like it did. Great. So you can open this email, and if I happen to close the window, I can just open it back up by using this link, or I can simply copy and paste this back into my option here. Great, now the email is set up. The next portion that it wants you to fill out here is creating a 9-digit PIN that you will use to complete, lock, and sign each chart going forward. This would be the equivalent of your signature at the bottom of the call sheet, just for an EMS chart. Now, this is a personal 9-digit PIN that you select, so no one else can sign a chart under your name. What is recommended and what most people who use this site select is their social security number, which just happens to be 9 digits long, but you're free to choose whatever 9-digit number you'd like as long as you can remember it, because you are going to have to enter it for every single call that you create when you go to complete it. So I personally use my social. I've used it. I've never had a problem. We'll just set up a fake one right here, but like I said, you can choose whatever 9-digit number you'd like. The second option here is what to do when you do lose your password or forget it. You can either reset it using your security questions that we set up already, or you can have it sent to your email address that you linked. So we'll have this one sent to the email address. We'll save security options, and we'll be all set there. Great. So now, this is the screen that you will see when you log into EMS Charts, having set everything up for the first time. From this point on, every time that you log in to EMS Charts, this is the screen that you are going to see. So a couple of things that I'll recommend right off the bat. If you're logging in and you're on duty, you're part of your shift, what you should do is look at this little service login on the right-hand side. If you have multiple companies that you work for that use EMS Charts, this is where you're going to switch between services. So if you see this drop-down menu here under Change Login, if you worked for Atlantic, you would see the Atlantic options under here as well as the Newton Squad option. This test account is only affiliated with the Newton Squad, so that's the only service that we see. What this field does, what this box does, is it allows you to enter in information that apply to your shift beforehand, so every time that you create a call, you don't have to put in the same shift information. This will allow you to pre-populate it. You can use it if you like, but there's obviously no requirement. It just kind of saves you a little bit of time if you have a busy shift. So the next option here, at least in the pre-population world, when you're going to set this up for your shift, you should always be selecting NFAS, because you're only ever going to be riding out of the Newton Squad when you're on duty as a predetermined shift. The next option here is unit. Obviously, if you're pre-selecting a shift information, you should really only be entering 3651 or 3652, because no crews should really be pre-scheduling themselves on POVs, because you aren't going to just respond to your POV as a part of the duty crew. The POV is not going to be the primary unit for the call, if that makes sense. Also, this is completely optional because every time that you do create a call, you can just change this or enter this manually. This is just a useful tool if you find that you want to save a little bit of time. So the next option here, 30 is the unit. We'll select 3651. Notice that a new box pops up here once we do that, looking at the crew on the call. So you can also then set up a shift. It doesn't matter what your shift actually is. If you're riding from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., obviously that's going to cross both the day and the night. This is something that can be changed on every call that you create, but you should have the shift listed as the time in which the call was dispatched. So if you have a shift from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. and you want to preset yourself up with a day shift, if the call is dispatched at 5:30 p.m., great, it falls within the day shift, it's perfect. But if you haven't shifted, or if the call goes out at 7:30 and you haven't changed this yet, when you go into your chart, or here if you'd like, you can just switch this to the night shift and that'll be that. So right now it is daytime, so let's set myself up to the day shift. If I click this little 3 people button, this is how I can change the crew that's listed on the ambulance. So these were just the last 2 crew members that I had listed. So what I would recommend doing is, I'll set it up. So this is what it really should look like when you log in for the first time if no crew member has been added to that truck. If you select none, it'll clear any name that's listed in there. So you can go ahead and put a brand new crew in. And what you should always do is use the Select Me button. This allows you to be added to the chart, so if you create a chart, it pre-populates the crew, but if you don't change it and don't add yourself and then advance to the next page, you're going to lose access to that chart because you aren't listed as a crew member. Then you can add whatever other crew members you want on the call sheet. Oops, selected myself twice. So the next step here is finding a crew member. If you type in the last name or the first name of a crew member and then search, it will bring up anyone in the system, in our service rather, who has an account that I affiliated with it. So we can select myself here. Great. If I wanted to add someone else, but I couldn't remember how I spelled, let's see, for instance, I don't remember how to spell, let's say, Lauren's last name, Hennigan. So I know that it starts with like an H-E-N. I just don't know, I know there's a G and an H in there, and I just don't want to mess it up. I can't figure it out. So what I can do is I can hit this percentage sign. And what the percentage sign does is it acts sort of like a wild card. So anything that comes before the percentage sign will be searched. And at that point, the percentage sign means that anything else could follow those 3 letters. So I know that it starts with H-E-N, but I don't know what follows it. So I put the percentage sign in, and that will put anything in there. This is very useful when it comes to searching for patients to add for your chart. Once we start running this and adding people's names, patients' names, you could then, in the future, avoid having to enter that person in every single time completely. You can just pull the last record that was added for that patient, and you can do that with the search aspect here. So we'll search, and great, it came up with Lauren's name. I could just click on that and it would add her, but I'm not going to add her to this chart, so I'll just close this box, and then I can save it. Great, so the crew is set up, and we'll talk about the actual chart in a little bit, but there are a couple other things that I want to have you do as a part of the first time you logged in. So if you look here on the left-hand side, there are lots of options that we see, most of which aren't relevant and most of which aren't used. You can go into configuration, but no one is going to be able to change that except for anyone who has administrative access. So you can go in, you can look, and there's not really very valuable information in there, but have at it. Patient records, that's where you're actually going to find your charts and be able to start a chart, so we'll hold off on that right now, but we'll keep going forward to show you a couple of other things. Special reports is one that you should be familiar with. Right now at the squad we have what we call incident reports. We just have you fill out those little paper sheets if something happens, and you submit it to the officers if anything goes wrong. What EMS charts allows you to do is create electronic incident reports that can be automatically emailed or sent to the relevant officers who deal with it. So we'll click special reports to look at this real quick. And to create one, you just click the create button. And this is what the chart or what the incident report, special report, will look like. Very simple: date, time, base, the unit number that was involved, any crew members that were involved in this, a subject, let's say 3651 damage. We can click the damage button here, and what this will do is forward itself to any officer that needs to know about vehicle damage. So for instance, this would really go to the line officer as well as the mechanical engineer, whereas equipment failure would go to the officers as well as the equipment engineer and personnel. If there's an issue with members, this would go to the membership committee and line officers, etc., etc. And then you could type whatever kind of narrative you want in here, part of your incident report. Let's say that and you can enter whatever kind of narrative you want in there, and then hit enter incident report, and it will send it off. But let's not actually do that right now. Let's go back to the home page. And that's as far as you need to go with the special reports. Very simple. All right, back to our home page. Forums aren't really going to be used unless members start using them. There's nothing official that's going to happen in there. Same thing with continuing education. These are just options that some services use. But as far as the way that our squad functions, we don't really need to worry about either of these here. Human resources, however, is an important one, so go ahead and click on that. One thing that I will show you or will have you go to is My Certifications. So click on that. And you can add whatever certifications that you have. At a minimum, every member should be entering in a CPR certification with an expiration date. And what this will do is, it's pretty nifty. It will allow you to track the expirations of your certifications, which is beneficial for you and the membership committee looking at this. But it will also automatically send you reminders when it gets close to your expiration date. I think we have it set up for like 6 months, 3 months. As you get closer, so you know that, hey, I need to start looking into recertifying my EMT certification, or my driver's license is expiring, or something like that. So we can also add in a New Jersey driver's license. Expiration date here. And we'll say that this test account is also the EMT. Great. And then anything else that you want to add under here in terms of certifications that you might have that might be an option, ICS classes or whatever, you can go and do that. But the main ones would be a CPR card for every member, a driver's license if you have one, and an EMT card if you have one. This way we can keep track of all the certifications there. The other important item here, which is not actually stocked right now, but document warehouse will be very important. As you can see here, there are different documents that are important here. The one at the bottom here, this region, is just stuff that the state has thrown in, not necessarily very relevant anymore, but what will be relevant eventually is this top portion, the command facility categories, which talks about the local service. So this is where we at the squad can add our own policies, add any sort of documents that we want here, which can include SOPs, bylaws, an RMA form, an application, pre-plans, like, what do you do if the high-rise catches on fire or Bristol Glen needs to be evacuated. This way, when you're out and about, you can actually pull these up and read them on the tablet or the tough book that we'll have in the ambulance. So go back to home. Links, support, training, all items that really aren't going to be used. Feel free to look at them if you'd like, but they aren't things that the squad is really going to be managing very well. Security settings is the place that we were at before. It just wants you to re-add your password to make sure that it's actually you. I can type a password here. This is where you can change your password, change your security questions, change your phishing image, all that stuff, change your PIN, everything that we set up to begin with. All right. So as far as the home page goes, that's pretty much it. The next step, the next video that we'll look at is actually completing a chart under the patient records option here, and we will pick it up in the next video.